Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Fergal.
And we're from Movie Smash.
Comic book movies are having a golden age right now with the MCU.
Movies based on comics aren't necessarily a new thing, but they're a big thing.
Join us every other Tuesday on Movie Smash.
We explore these movies and find some hidden gems.
Every other week, we revisit some of the best.
And some of the worst movies based on comics or graphic novels.
Was Green Lantern as bad as you remember?
Heck no!
Is Time Cop the most accurate time travel movie ever created?
Absolutely.
Was Mystery Men way ahead of its time?
Should they be revisited? Should they be forgotten?
Join us on Movie Smash and find out. Listen wherever you find your fine podcasts.
Entering the world of Crisis on Infinite Films, brought to you by All Too Real 2 Podcast.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All Too Real 2. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is
Sesame, Hard Facts, Carta.
Hard Facts.
Facts.
Yes, Hard Facts.
And also, that could be a twofer, right? So it could be Hard Facts as in like factual information, but also Hard Facts as like a fax machine. Instead of paper, it just shoots out like really hard, like rock shit or whatever. It kind of hurts the machine though, so it only works one time.
It works
like
one time.
It's one time.
It's got one of those like birds inside of it that chisels everything on stone, like on the Flintstones, right?
It's it only works once, so it's like not really great. You got to buy a new machine every time someone sends you a fax. Like
that's kind of sad. It's like it's a very capitalistic type of device there, where the planned obsolescence sort of thing built right in. Yeah. So, anyways, folks, on a brighter note, today on the show, in honor of the new Superman movie coming out, decided that we would venture into the television world of Superman and cover the pilot episode of Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman.
Yeah.
Yes, the pilot episode, which was just entitled Pilot, directed by Robert Butler, who looks like he directed a bunch of television stuff over the years, like Remington Steele and Sisters and Midnight Caller and stuff like that. Okay, so it was written by Deborah Joy Levine, based on the characters created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. It stars Dean Cain as Clark Kent / Superman, Terry Hatcher as Lois Lane, Lane Smith as Perry White, Michael Landis as Jimmy Olsen, Tracy Scoggins as Cat Grant, Elizabeth Barandes as Lucy Lane, John Shea as Lex Luthor, Kay Callahan, who is a Facebook friend of mine and really nice lady. I talked to her a few times, as Martha Kent, Eddie Jones as Jonathan Kent, among others. So, yeah.
Many others.
Yes,
great
many others. It's a really good 2-hour pilot. I mean, hour and a half after commercials are taken out.
Yeah.
You can watch this right now on Max or HBO Max or whatever it's called at the time you're listening to this.
Yeah, exactly. Because they keep changing the name. I always like H a lot better than Max.
It's going back to HBO Max sometime soon. As we record it right now, it's Max, but I know that I think by the fall or something, it's going to be HBO Max again.
All right, that's cool.
Just think of all the money they wasted on that.
Oh, really? It's just so stupid. Like, it's like HBO is a brand.
Yeah.
It's so like when you get rid of the brand name, like it'd be like Netflix just calling itself Flix or something like that.
Or Disney Plus just being like Plus.
Right, exactly. It's like, why would you do that? Whatever.
Yeah. I still I'm still thinking that what we need right now is Peacock and Paramount Plus to combine and call themselves Mount Cock and or Cock Mount, whichever you prefer.
Oh God.
Yeah. Anyways, then they could show some racier stuff on there too, or something. Anyways, so or just a bunch of stuff about hanging up chickens on your wall when you mount a cock.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So, anyways, this episode, it originally premiered on September 12th of 1993. So almost 32 years ago.
Oh, really? It's 93? Okay, I thought it was like
Yeah.
95. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, the show ran from 93 to 97. So yeah. Little background here on the show. They some like little trivia and shit like that. They and excuse if you happen to hear in the background anybody while you're listening to this to some really loud revving cars that are deciding to go down the street by where I live and am recording in my studio. So the casting for this. Okay. So recently we had covered an episode of Superboy.
Yes.
And Gerard Christopher, who took over Superboy, I believe that's who it was. Yeah, he was the second Superboy in the Superboy TV series. He auditioned for the role of Superman in this series and was cast in the role, but then they saw his resume and realized, they're like, you already played this role. And so their second choice was Dean Cain. Another runner-up for the role was a fellow mega supporting actor, Kevin Sorbo. So yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So we almost had a Hercules. Yeah. I mean, ironically though, I guess not ironically, but both Dean Cain and Kevin Sorbo both appeared on Supergirl, the TV series. So,
yeah, that's great.
Yeah. As did Terry Hatcher. Yeah. So yeah, that's one of the little things. They didn't want to cast Dean Cain too because they thought he was too young for the part, and they said that he was, we're casting Superman, not Superboy.
Right. I think it matters.
Yeah. But they ended up auditioning 100 prospects with none of them standing out as perfect for the role. Cain was included among a handful, including Kevin Sorbo. Yeah, they went with Cain. Cain had like very little acting experience before this. Learned on the set. Yeah. He supposedly, I don't know if this rumor is true, but supposedly he had done porn before this.
Wow. I mean, he's pretty good. That's like one of his.
He's good. They actually, the director took him aside and had a one-on-one, like basically acting class with him and taught him how to act for the show. And I will say he comes off pretty charming in the show, I guess. Yeah, he's a good actor, I guess. Yeah. So one of the other interesting things about this show is second season. I remember this being jarring. They got rid of Cat Grant, which was fine because she's kind of a little bit over the top here. I mean, I think Calista Flockhart was a better Cat Grant in Supergirl. But they also recast Jimmy Olsen with Justin Whalen, who was slightly younger than Michael Landis, who played him in this. But the reasoning being that the producers replaced him. Olsen was recast because the show's new producers, because they got new producers in the second season, felt that Landis looked too similar to Dean Cain in age and type. So I think they were afraid people were going to confuse the two, which is stupid.
They don't look anything like each other. I mean,
they're both white men with dark hair.
That's it. Their bodies are not.
No,
their weight ain't like.
Yeah.
I think the one dude's even shorter than Dean Cain a little bit. It's like what?
And I will say, Justin Whalen looks different. He at the time when he did it, he had kind of like one of those longer, like, he was slightly younger. He had like one of those longer, like 90s guy haircuts, like the ones that were like, every guy that was on the cover of 17 magazine had or whatever, or Teen Beat or one of those type of things,
Yeah.
Like the like I don't know, kind of like the Will Friedle or Ryder Strong or Jonathan Taylor Thomas sort of, or Devon Sawa sort of haircut, one of those type of things. Yeah, Devon Sawa, another Facebook friend of mine. Anyway, so
I know what you're referring. Yeah, the dude from SLC Punk Part 1 and 2. I forget the what. Remind me. I'm gonna remind myself to write this down on a document so I don't forget. For this Halloween, one of the episodes we have to do is called Idle Hand. I love this movie. Every single year, I say we should watch this movie, and I always forget about it. But this time, I'm gonna write it that Halloween
this year. So that's something to look forward to, folks. In October, we will cover Idle Hands, and we won't be idle about that. We'll make sure that we do it.
Gotta do a lot of research.
Yeah. So the Facebook synopsis for this episode is: after Clark gets a job at the Daily Planet, he joins Lois in investigating space shuttle sabotage, which he must thwart as Superman. Yep. So what are your initial reactions to this pilot?
Dude, I really love this episode. I used to watch it with my brother here and there. I never really paid attention to it that much. It just was kind of just on the TV, and he was watching it, and I was kind of just doing whatever. But I never really watched it. So when I saw this a couple nights ago, I was like, yeah, this is really cool. I really like the Lex Luthor they got, because I like the Supergirl one, but he was a little bit too erratic and not really charming. Whereas this Lex Luthor is like a charming kind of guy,
there's different styles, and I mean, I think John Cryer had his own kind of charm, but it was different. He was more of a megalomaniac and not a, this guy kind of reminds me of a Trump,
a little bit like a younger Trump, like
Trump of that time, like a real estate magnate or whatever,
So I like their Lex Luthor. I like Dean Cain as Superman. What I like about this show, though, is from what I remember, at least, maybe I misremembered it, but like it seemed like it had more of a focus on like the journalistic aspect of Clark Kent more so than the Superman stuff, and so it seemed like it took a back seat to him working at the Daily Planet, which I kind of. If you think about it too, that was the majority of Superman's life was actually working the Daily Planet. The superhero shit was like the minority of his time doing shit. You know what I mean? Like the most of his time spent throughout the day was at work. He's better to be able to
see at the time there was a run of Superman comic books that like followed a modern origin for Superman that John Byrne, the writer, had developed, and in which he basically made it clear that Clark Kent is the true personality of the guy, whereas Superman is the disguise.
Right.
Which is kind of the opposite of the way most people interpret Batman, which I think is good, where Batman is the real person.
Yeah.
And Bruce Wayne is the disguise. The thing about Christian Bale's performance of Batman that I found really interesting is he said this in interviews that he figured out that Bruce Wayne was three guys.
Oh.
He was Batman. He was the Bruce Wayne who was alone with like Alfred, like with people that he trusted.
Right.
Who was like pretty much like kind of the like in between thing. Where it was like maybe that third guy was actually who he was. He was kind of a combo of Bruce Wayne and Batman. And then there was the mask of Bruce Wayne of the billionaire playboy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that makes total sense.
Yeah. I think this is an interesting take. And Dean Cain had said too that the way he played the role was that Clark was the character and Clark was the guy and Superman was his disguise, which was a good choice in how you play the role, because you got to realize that, that's the way it is in a lot of ways. I mean, and I think that's true to like, which makes a good series whereas like sometimes they don't understand that when you're doing a superhero series. I think like The Flash is really good about that too, where, Barry is the real guy, whereas the Flash is the disguise.
Right. It's just like a character plays. What I love about this too, it's the fact that's not lost on me either, that Superman or Clark's career is a journalist, and then he's also Superman. And so it's like already a nod to like the idea of like a free press, stuff that we're losing in our country and world. Puts the right to factual information, stuff like that. That's very important. And,
this episode, basically, I mean, you've got the reporters, I guess you should say, with Lois as well. and then you've got the like billionaire with Lex Luthor, who you're basically, who's like kind of like in the episode, which we'll get into. He does say at one point, because his building is the tallest in Metropolis, and he likes the fact that everyone has to look up to him.
Right, to see him. Yeah,
Lex Luthor says it, yeah. And then, I mean, I'll ruin the ending already because I'm assuming everybody watched this before we talk about it. Where at the end, Superman comes and visits him, and then he flies up and he says, "If you want to see me, just look up."
Right, so it's like giving himself away. Like, now Lex Luthor probably already suspects that it's Clark.
But,
you know what I mean?
But the thing is, it was a jab, because he knows that Lex likes looking down on everybody, but Superman is above him. So yeah.
Right. God damn it. Yeah, I just really did like the whole.
Poetic. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said it's very poetic. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, too, it's just, I like the whole idea of placing a lot of emphasis on their work as working at the Daily Planet and solving, crimes the way, because like the whole idea of Superman is that he's like one guy. Like, he's like, at least in this episode, it was almost like Superman's like the last line of defense type of thing. Like, he's the guy you go to, exhausted every other opportunity or every other means of finding. So it's not like, oh, there's a criminal, let's go find a crime, send Superman. Instead, you have Lois and Clark painstakingly searching, doing it the correct way that you would in any kind of civil society, instead of just like going to the superhero and saying, okay, let's go find out. You know what I mean? Like, and so I thought that was really interesting of how they put a lot of, also too, like a lot of, like, we don't really have this anymore because we don't really have a free press in our country anymore. But like, back then, like the guy who's like the main editor on the Daily Planet, he's like really super big on like really, really like checking your sources, like to make sure that like you're 100% accurate. And there's one scene, I can only extrapolate what he was going to say because he got interrupted. But like, there's one scene where they're doing like a meeting like every day with like what stories they're gonna think of writing or whatever, and it was something to do with like the sex change of the royal family or whatever. And he's like, I've got mixed feelings on this because, and he gets interrupted. But what I think he was going to say, I don't know, obviously. What I think what he was going to say was he has mixed feeling on his story because, one, it is a factual story, but then I think he was gonna say he didn't want to do it because it might be sensational. I don't know. Yeah. I'd say it, but that's what I was getting from. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
pretty much too. When I mean the way people have always looked at the royal family, that's more stuff you're going to find in a tabloid. You're not going to find, I mean, sometimes, like if they're coming to visit your country, that's one thing, but like the, like romantic, things going on in the royal family or the inner workings of their family problems aren't going to be something that you're going to see on the front of the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or something. It's more something you're going to find in the National Enquirer or something like that, Nature of the Sun or something,
Yeah, so that's why I think he was going to be getting at. It's like, technically it is a interesting story, but then it also has the potential of being like, just very sensationalized. Like, oh, a sex change. Wow, it's so fascinating, whatever. Of course, nowadays you get thrown in jail for, having sex.
But it's even to the point where I think the way they were implying it too was that it was like a rumor too. It wasn't even like,
oh, I see. It wasn't
it wasn't like someone just was trans or something. It was like kind of like so and so might have had a sex change and stuff like that. I feel it's more akin to like the Candace Owens looking at the First Lady of France and how she thinks that she's trans and just accusing her of being trans for no reason. Right. Yeah. So
right. Terrible thing, whatever. Yeah. Like, whatever, dumb bitch. Sorry.
Yeah. I just watched a video from this guy Jose about Candace Owens, which was really great. So it's and about how bad her research is on things and everything, and her it's a good video. So I recommend people check that out on YouTube. Anyways, so I really enjoyed this show. I mean, I'll tell you that I watched it, like I watched the show every week. I remember until they started, then they like kind of moved it around the last season and I kind of like lost track of it. I don't think I watched much of the last season when it was on. I've seen it since, I rented all the DVDs back when those came out and, stuff like that. And I might even continue watching this if I feel like it, so, cause it's a feel good show. think. So yeah, kind of optimistic. Brings me back to my teenage years, sort of thing. So back when I actually had hope in the world.
Yeah. Yep.
Back when I liked Dean Cain.
Yeah, exactly. When he didn't turn into be a jerk, but great actor. I mean, if he can convince people that he's likable, or he could have just been a back then too.
I can totally separate his political views from things. He's a good actor. I can't deny that. That's like, that's like, I don't know. It's not where it's like Kevin Sorbo, who is just a bad actor and has bad views on the world. So it's different.
Exactly. It's like two negatives. Dean Cain's got one, one plus, one against one. The Sorbo's behind two. Yeah. So what happens though is Clark, he applies for a job at the Daily Planet. Well, actually, we kind of begin with Lois because she had just finished this really big story where she was pretending to be a guy and like just gathering intel, I guess, on something. Yeah. She had worn like a fake mustache and was kind of like walking around like a dude, stuff like that. And so like that was like her big, her big thing or whatever. And then Clark applies or tries to get an interview with the, the head of the Daily Planet. And like he just writes really boring stories. I mean, like, they're interesting because they're factual, but like something to do with like mating calls between two different animals or whatever. It's something like no one's really gonna read. Like people will read it, but they'll read it like in very niche magazines, not like, you know what I mean? Like stuff you'll have to order, like pre-order. Yeah.
If that's something you're interested in, it doesn't have a wide appeal.
No, it just doesn't. So he's kind of like, I appreciate, it's, your writing's good, you got your facts right, but it's not really interesting. And so he wasn't really going to give him the job. But then he ends, goes home to see his parents every night because he can just fly over or whatever. And the only weird thing about it though is like they made his Earth parents like way older. Like they're all more like his grandparents age wise. It seems like, you know what I mean?
Different interpretations of those characters have been in the comic books. Like when I think the original ones, they were an old couple. Oh. Yeah. And I mean, like in the first Superman movie, they're older and, his dad dies and things like that too. So
that's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they're a little bit on the older side. The dad's kind of like, he's pretty much like in all of the things, he's very concerned about him being figured out, of what he is or who he is, kind of thing. So he's got that protective.
And honestly, I mean, Kay Callan is who plays his mom, was born in 1936, and Dean Cain was born in 1966. So she's like 30 years older than him.
Well, that's not too bad.
My dad is 30 years older than me, so
me too. So that's not too bad. And so his dad's, he's got that very protective streak. He doesn't want the world to figure out who he is because they'll like want to do experiments on him, and which is true. I'm sorry, but like they would want to do shit like that whenever they find anyone that's like special in any way.
I mean, and last night to kind of compare the two. After I watched this, I watched the pilot episode of Supergirl, and that's what they kind of do in that one. After she kind of saves a plane, and then the whatever that organization was that her sister worked for, they kidnap her, and then they try to tell her not to do anything and not be like this because they might have to neutralize her or something, basically. So yeah,
I forgot about that. I forgot. Yeah, her sister
Alex.
She was always her saving people. Because wasn't she in the plane that she has saved from crashing?
Yeah, that's why she saved the plane, because she knew her sister was on it. So
she like scolded her for saving her, like basically say hi kind of thing, because it's like, wow, your sister saved your life and you're like mad at her for it. Like, God, you should have let me die, man. It's like, okay, but what about all the other people? I don't think they were willing to die, to keep her Brits. But yeah, that's a good show too. Which is funny because doesn't Dean Cain play their father in that show?
He plays her adoptive father. Yeah.
And that's pretty interesting. But if you guys haven't seen that, you should check out Supergirl.
Yeah.
I think Supergirl is actually probably one of the better of the Arrowverse shows. Personally, I think Supergirl is a little bit better than the Flash actually when it comes to acting.
I mean, the Flash was great for the first half of it.
Yeah, first 2 seasons I would say very good.
First 2 or 3 were good, and then it kind of went downhill. And Supergirl ran for 6 seasons, and it was pretty good, most of them. I mean, I think towards the end it kind of went a little crazy over the top, like most of them do. You know, it's the same thing with like Arrow and all of them. Like they start out good. They start out good, and then they get kind of like, a lot of shows are like that too. I mean, even reality shows like The Masked Singer starts out kind of cool, and then it just goes over the top. You know, so it's like, yeah. So
that's pretty interesting. And then Clark, he kind of lives like in a studio apartment. Nothing really fancy involved.
It's like a hotel, I think, too. It's called it's called Hollow or something. So
it's just like a very dingy motel. It's like one little room. He doesn't really have much. But I mean, even his dad said something too, like quit living in your suitcase or living out of your suitcase or something like that. So apparently he's been living for a while.
I do think it was cool. Like when he gets rejected at the newspaper, and then he goes back to the place. It's really cool. They did a in-camera trick. They have him walking on the ceiling and walls and everything. And the way they did that is they actually had the room would turn. The camera would be locked down and the room would turn. And so then they would have Dean Cain like just walking normal, like the wall would become the floor and such, you know? So when it turned, so it's pretty cool I remember seeing like a behind the scenes thing of that, and it's really cool how they did it. You can kind of tell sometimes that the balance is changing, but it's kind of cool though, because it looks like he's just walking on the walls and stuff, but it's just the room is moving and not him really. So like cool, but yeah.
I was gonna make a note of that because I also thought that was really neat. So he gets hired eventually, and then he partners him up with Lois and
the way he got hired too is he wrote a really cool human interest piece about a theater that was closing, and because he went in there and he stopped it from being bulldozed because there was this woman inside who was doing the play The Cherry Orchard on stage, and she was performing it to an empty theater, and she needed to finish it before she left. She was an old actress, and he wrote about her, which was kind of sweet. Yeah.
It was, because, also too, they're going to freaking kill her. So, destroying the building. I mean, not like murder, but like, they were like, all right, let's go execute. But no. And so the guy, he, this is a funny act. I don't know, man. Just like the guy who plays the editor.
Who plays Perry. Yeah.
Like very interesting person. It's like, I can't really describe it. It's like, there's this very interesting sense of humor, almost like confusion. Like, so he's kind of like a hard ass, but at the same time, he's not. And like, there's this one scene later in the episode where he's like in the storage room and he's just kind of like really confused if like Clark is in like the supply room.
Yeah. He says something to him about coming out of the closet too. Like, is he trying to imply that he thinks Clark's gay? Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
I do think, because there was actually a lot of innuendos in this pilot. I was surprised they let go through in the the episode, because like Lois says a few lines that are very double emphasis. And like, and by the way, just as a quick point, my brother had like the hugest crush on the actress who played Lois at the time.
Oh, Terry Hatcher was beautiful at the time.
Yeah. I remember he was just like in love with her. That was probably why he watched it all the time. And so anyway, so he partners her up with Lois. Lois is like really pissed about this because she likes to work alone. She thinks that like Clark is kind of like a charity case, basically, because he hasn't really written anything that great. She's like the hard-hitting journalist that chases like the really dangerous stories and is willing to do anything to get the scoop or whatever. And so, well, except for one thing, she doesn't sleep with anyone in her story, and she works alone. There was a third. Well, I don't remember what the third rule was.
She doesn't sleep with people she works with.
But I said that one, but there was two. The two one was works alone. Then there was a third one, but I forgot what the third one was. It doesn't matter. It's not that important if I forgot it. So they eventually they try to do a piece on Lex Luthor. They're going to like a gala that he's thrown at his mansion or whatever, and she's like, "Come on, let's go snoop around or whatever." Great, you want to do that at a billionaire's house to snoop around? It's awesome. And then, you got cameras all over the place, probably dozens of security guards armed. Sure. And so he kind of lets them, nose around a little bit. He knows what they're doing, and then Clark turns around and Lex has got a sword pointing at him, but Clark is like, he knows a lot about stuff. He's like, oh, it's Macedonian, that's nice. And he's like, oh, you know about Alexander, what Alexander the Great or whatever, type of thing. So they're having like a little bit of like a powwow type of thing, like two guys trying to size each other up a little bit, who knows more than what or whatever. And then Lois comes out of the closet. Oh, literally comes out of the closet and just kind of like, oh, you have a lovely home, like just pretending that they were just kind of, even if that's true, like you don't just like go, I don't care if the person's rich or not, like go around someone's house and just check things out without asking, like just like, I mean, come on, where are your manners? Like,
I don't know. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I just randomly go to billionaires' homes and walk around.
Well, plus too, the lie also sucks because the lights were turned off. Who just goes into a dark lit room to investigate? Like, oh, you have a lovely home here in this room I can't see because it's pitch black. Like, what? So, it makes no sense. And so, he's like a mastermind. He knows what people are doing, pretending, playing dumb, playing along. That's the line when you mentioned that, like, people have to look up to see him, because he shows them his bedroom or whatever. There's a weird scene. I don't know if you understood what was going on. I did not really quite understand it. So after the gala, he's kind of like having like just kind of sitting like by his fireplace, just laying on the floor. He's smoking a cigar in a weird way. And there's this guy. You see the door open, and then a snake starts slipping in. And so I'm sitting there thinking, oh, someone's trying to put out a hit here on Lex. They're going to try to send a snake to bite and kill him or whatever. But instead, he like turns around right as the snake is lifting its head. And like he has like a stare down contest with the snake, like I guess to see who's going to back down or whatever. But then at the very end, like a tear start falling from Lex Luthor's eyes. Like, I don't know if he's sad or he just loves this snake or whatever. I don't know what it is. And then like the snake charmer guy shows up and he's like, oh, is that all for this evening, Mr. Luthor? And he's like, yes, that's all. I'm like, okay, so the guy was not trying to kill him. Lex just likes him to let a snake loose in his group for some reason. Like, I mean, I guess the rich always have their weird things, so
whatever. I mean, I'm not going to kink shame in any way here.
What do you think was going on with that? What was that like? Was that just him like trying to face danger, like to see if the snake?
That's my guess. That's my guess on it, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's explained in a future episode or something. But yeah,
he was like crying, it's like almost like he had like this sense of like love and affection. So I don't know if that's like his pet snake or something like that, or I mean, you can't really get a pet cobra. I mean, come on, like that's like I don't know. I mean, I know they have snake charmers, but like with that, I'm almost certain that they're drugging the snakes. That's my theory, and like they're not really quote unquote charming the snakes. Like they're not like really controlling what the snakes are doing.
Yeah,
except maybe popping out of the vase, but that's not like the same thing as like go this direction or do this trick or whatever. It's not like you're trained like a dog or a cat or whatever. So
yeah,
I don't know, but find out later on. But I was just wondering what you thought about that because it was just a very strange scene to me. Because like my first, I don't know if they're gonna.
I don't know if it was trying to make him seem weirder or what it was, but yeah, it's just strange.
Well, he did that very intense stare and very unsettling, really, to actually watch because it was like, okay, what's dude up to? And so there's that scene that was right after the gala, and then what else happens? They talk to some scientist dude, right, or ex-scientist, or
they had I think before the gala they had talked to Dr. Samuel Platt is his name before they gather information. Platt, but they want to go talk to him again after that because he had worked at this project that had to do with space travel.
Yeah,
and there was something going on that he knew was wrong. Basically trying to call out the way that they were cutting corners and shit like that, and they saying that it might blow up, the space flight might blow up, and so that because like she had been assigned that with Clark by Perry, but it's they do try to go talk to him, and he's murdered by the time they get there, made to look like a suicide. Yeah, so
right.
and then they go and they also try to reach this other doctor, Antoinette Baines. She had claimed that Platt is not to be trusted, that there's nothing wrong with the spaceship, and that he's crazy and all that bullshit that they do in corporate.
Right.
Yeah,
I love the effects with the electricity. It was so fake looking, but I liked it.
Yeah, the crackling of it too, sound effects.
Yeah, like the little crackling sound. A lot of the effects are not that great in this episode, but it's still fun, to watch.
I mean, the other thing too is they make a big deal about him, designing the suit and everything, and they change by the next episode. They change the S on his chest to be bigger and more stylized than the one that he wears in this episode.
All right.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah,
because the one he's wearing in this episode is closer akin to like the Christopher Reeve one. Yeah, but the blue on his suit is darker than Christopher Reeve and other ones because they wanted it to kind of stand out more.
Yeah, they wanted to distinguish it a little bit. That makes sense.
Yeah. An interesting side note, because we were talking about Perry White before the other part. So Lane Smith, after he was cast in the role, Levine, who was she was the creator of the show, she decided to replace the character's catchphrase from the comics, which was "Great Caesar's Ghost," is what he always used to say. Yeah, and she said she thought it was implausible that a Southerner, because he's from the South, would ever say that.
Right.
So she changed it to "Great Shades of Elvis," which he says in the episode towards the end. So then after that, this led to the character becoming a big Elvis fan throughout the series. So
I rewrite him just wow.
So yeah, because like in the comic books and in I think the old George Reeves TV series back in the 50s and 60s or whatever, he used to say "Great Caesar's Ghost" like when something was exciting to him or surprised him or whatever. So
right.
It's kind of like saying like "Holy Toledo," like, or something, or whatever, or like, "Oh my gosh," whatever. It's like "Great Caesar's Ghost."
This is such I never heard that. That must be like a phrase they just came up with for the show.
The Great Shades of Elvis, they obviously came up with for this show. Yeah. I don't know where Great Caesar's Ghost came from.
He would say that. Yeah, that's why it's because they were saying he was like a crazy ex-scientist, but he was actually telling the truth. That whole story and stuff. And
by Great Caesar's Ghost. I'm looking up the history of Great Caesar's Ghost because
is that a real phrase? Is that like an actual?
It's an allusion to the tragedy of Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare, in which the Roman leader Julius Caesar's ghost appears to Brutus.
What?
Used as a euphemism in place of "good God" or similar expressions. So I think it's basically of not using God's name in vain.
Right. Okay.
So people would say "Great Caesar's Ghost," and it was made popular in the 1940s and 50s by the Superman radio program and comic books as a catchphrase for Perry White. So yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's interesting.
And that's very interesting. So yeah, so that's like because it had something to do with they were sabotaging the shuttle, something to do with like the heat generator. No, it was like freezing. It was like making the thing cold, which then would cause like a reaction or something like that, right?
I think so.
I think that's what it was. And they suspected that was Lex Luthor and one of this woman who's like, I guess kind of like, I don't really know what she is to him, if she's like a partner of his or if she's just working for him on this one issue or something like that. This British woman. No, she wasn't British, but she, whatever. Yeah. And this blonde woman who was like kind of in love with him, but
she's basically seduced Lex Luthor. Yeah.
She basically wanted to kill Clark and Lois, but Lex kind of has a liking to Lois, so obviously she didn't want to kill her, and she tries to anyway, so Lex just blows up her helicopter, essentially.
Yeah.
And then frames her for the whole thing that she was the one trying to sabotage. Well, I got way ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think we've really missed much, so, yeah.
Well, at one point, because they kidnapped both her and Clark, having Shane to
basically, because she and Jimmy go there by themselves without Clark, and Jimmy Olsen, the photographer and journalist at the Daily Planet, they go to the place to do some research and get some pictures and stuff, and get in a big fight with this guy who's like a henchman, and Lois kicks his ass after after he kicked the ass of. The thing is, in the comic books, I think around this time too, Lois was known for knowing Taekwondo and stuff like that. So
okay, that's cool. I want to
she lived in a big city, and to take care of herself, she took martial arts classes or something. So, yeah.
But he's supposed to be a fighter. That's his whole job. That's like not a side gig for him. So that's like his thing. Her main thing is journalism. The Taekwondo is the side hustle. His non-side hustle is the fighting people, and he gets his ass kicked. Was that supposed to be Deathstroke, or is that just some random hench guy? Like,
I think it's just some random hench guy.
I was gonna say, I'm like, that better not be Deathstroke. Like,
no, I don't know if he appears in the show or not. So yeah,
probably. I don't think. Yeah, I would just.
They do have a lot of the comic book characters appear over time, because like the first season primarily focuses on Lex being the bad guy, but then they, like, when new producers came in the second season, and also John Shea was commuting from New York to Los Angeles to shoot the show, so they basically decided that he would leave the show and appears in guest appearances here and there throughout the series. So yeah, I mean the series only ran for 4 seasons, so.
Yeah, it wasn't long of a, but it was still a decent amount.
Yeah, there was supposed to be a 5th season, and then they fucked it up because they moved the time slot and like a lot, and put it up against. I can't remember if they put it up against like 60 Minutes or something that was like a well-established show, and fucked it up. So yeah,
gotta love network TV at the time, where they could just like make or break a show depending on like what day or time that they aired it.
To be fair, at that time, a show had a better chance of surviving than it does today. So,
oh, okay,
yeah, because like nowadays, the like if a show is not great, like back in the 90s and stuff, like Seinfeld, for example, got horrible ratings its first season and then it picked up in reruns in the summer. But today, if the show had horrible ratings like that, it would have been canceled after the first season.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, yeah, but with Seinfeld too, interesting, because they took like a year or two off, right? Because like 89, I think, was the first season, and then it didn't come back until like 91, 92 or something like that.
Well, it was like the pilot episode. There was a year in between the pilot and the second episode or something.
Okay,
but it aired as a special, and it was never going to air again. But then they decided to revamp it slightly, and they added Elaine and stuff like that. So, because she wasn't in the original pilot, so yeah. But anyways, I know way too much in the back of my head about that. So speaking of Seinfeld too, Terry Hatcher guest starred on Seinfeld, and Seinfeld is a big fan of Superman. And in the episode that she guest starred on Seinfeld, she talks about his obsession with Superman, and that was before she was cast on this show.
Wow, that's meta, man.
Yeah,
that's some like multiversal shit there.
Yeah.
Speaking of like shows not getting a chance, there was this show I really liked. God, it's probably at least 10 years, if not longer. Yeah, it's probably more of like 2012. It was kind of like a documentary-ish kind of style. It was still like a scripted TV show. It was kind of like a Survivor type of show, but like a lot of crazy shit. I was what it was called, but like a lot of like crazy shit, starts happening. Like it's kind of like a suspenseful, kind of like a not really horror, but there's still kind of elements that are like really scary. They only did like 8 episodes and they canceled it. Then
was it reality or was it a mockumentary show?
So it had the style as though like it was like a reality show, but like it itself was like a scripted. Like it was like it wasn't like Survivor. It was like a show about a Survivor type show. Like, but they talk about, but then like a lot of the dialogue would just be like between like the people themselves. Like it was like, and occasionally they would like have like this one woman. She like slept with the cameraman to like blackmail him to like, for some reason, like get her the win or something like that. Like I don't remember exactly what it was, but she had some like her own agenda. And like this one woman, she told someone, don't eat these mushrooms without boiling them first because like they'll cause problems or whatever. And so like this other woman came and she's like, oh, these look good. And then the woman, didn't tell her that on purpose so that she'd have like a terrible trip or whatever, hope they'll the group or whatever. And so obviously she had a terrible trip because she ate the mushrooms and she started having like all kinds of like hallucinations and stuff. Whatever. I forgot the name of it, but it was like they only had like 8 episodes. It was on NBC, I think, at the time. We could look it up later. Right now, it's not important. But but yeah, it was like, great show for me. At least I liked it. There was a show with Matthew Perry that actually there's 2 shows with Matthew Perry that only got 1 season. One was called Get Brits, and the other one was some other like Mr. Sunshine or something.
Mr. Sunshine. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are both good shows, in my opinion. They only got 1 season each. Community was constantly being threatened to have their show canceled since season 2. Every single year, it was like, oh my God, on Shopee Block, is it gonna get over that? And then eventually, like, oh no, don't worry, it's coming back. And it was like they did that for like 3 years until finally they just did cancel it. And then that's when Yahoo. I'm glad Yahoo did it because like Yahoo Video like ended up like just completely imploding like right after that. So like at least they got Community for a season 6. Anyway, I'm rambling there for a second about the.
So yeah, anyways, back to back to this show. We've got what's going on next here. We got so basically they get kidnapped and chained up with chains, and after Clark goes in to save Jimmy and Lois, he literally busts through the door like a bull in a china shop or something, and he goes and they're chained up, but he's able to get them free. He claims that there was a link missing in the chains, but he had broken them. But before that, Lois and him have this like little heart-to-heart thing, and because they think they're going to die, and and then that's when after that the helicopter is booby trapped and Baines and the helicopter explode. The killing her. Luther is the one who was doing it. He's watching it on a TV monitor.
Yeah.
So then after Baines is dead, everybody believes everything's good and safe, and they get ready to make this launch. And Lois is going to be on the shuttle, kind of like Katy Perry or something. And well, or maybe more like Robin Roberts or whatever. So the journalist who was on there. So was it Robin Roberts? I think it was. But anyways, that was such So after everybody thinks everything's hunky dory, and so Lois sneaks into the ship while the parents are watching it on TV and everything, and so he's talking to his parents. He's frustrated that he can't use his powers, and he asks his mom to help make him a costume, which is something that in certain versions of the comic book his mom made the costume for him, so people could not recognize him, and So they put the whole thing on. It's all together. He tries on all these different costumes in this montage to "I Need a Hero," the song. Yeah, and he ends up choosing the typical the blue suit with the red trunks and the red cape, and but there's nothing on his chest, and she remembers that this symbol was with him in his in his ship when they found him when he crashed on Earth, and so puts that on the chest, and it's in certain versions it's like you don't know what it symbolizes, but it's the symbol for the House of El, so for Kal-El, his real name. Yeah. Anyways, so they're going onto the spaceship, and Lois notices a bomb on there. She's trying to defuse it herself, and he sees that something's wrong while he's watching it on TV with his parents. And so Clark flies to Metropolis to help. He arrives as Superman and finds Lois inside the ship trying to disarm the bomb, as I was saying, and he takes the bomb and he swallows it in front of her.
Yep. And then he burped.
Yep. And he burped after it exploded inside of him. Like he had, heartburn, real heartburn.
Real heartburn. That food he had was the bomb, bro. Literally the bomb.
Yeah. So, but they think that they can't lift off the ship because they already had, done something with the thrusters or whatever, and they couldn't do it again. So then everybody was going to have to not go on the ship to go to this space station in the sky. And so anyways, Superman basically flies the ship up to the space station, and then he visits Lex Luthor and tells him, let the games begin. And then he also tells him, if you want to find me, you're going to have to look up.
Right.
As a poetic fuck you.
Fuck you, Lex. What I don't understand though, okay, is how just by taking off his glasses and wearing like a suit and cape, does like nobody recognize like who I remember you talking about like some of the shows, it's like because they're not like fully human, like people just like there's like this weird
but it's also this illusion, like he was saying, you take off the glasses and he presents himself different, so people realize that he is Clark, even though he looks the same. But it's an illusion sort of thing, and I think it might be something to do with some kind of superpowers in a way that basically make him look different. But if you ever find it, the episode of SNL that Terry Hatcher hosted, they make fun of this. Really? Where a bunch of the people come up and they're the actors are put on glasses, and then she doesn't recognize who they are. A lot of the cast members of SNL at the time, and the thing ends too where Tim Meadows comes up and he's wearing the glasses, and then he takes them off, and she still doesn't recognize him.
Right? Yeah, I remember too. Wasn't it from the 70s when they had like a superheroes party, and like
that was
Superman was one of them.
Yeah,
you had but there's like the twist in this though was that Lois was like more enamored by Clark than she was by Superman. He was getting really pissed off because of that. She's like, "Wait, Clark is the guy that you're like, It's like, God damn it!"
Yeah, but I got to find that clip. Maybe I'll put a link to that clip of Terry Hatcher on SNL if I can find it online. Yeah, but any other thoughts here about this episode?
No, not really. Just check it out. I would say, it's a good episode. It's an hour and a half long ish. Yeah,
it's good. I mean, it's like a two-parter sort of, but all in one episode. I mean, the series was good, I think. I mean, it had its flaws, obviously, and they had, from time to time, different people playing different characters. Like, that mean people, like, playing characters they would return, but different actors playing them, but that happens a lot. But, yeah. Like Lois's mom was played by two different people, including Phyllis Coates, who played Lois in the first season of the George Reeves Superman TV series. Played her mom, but then she didn't come back and somebody else played her mom. And there was I was reading the history of this. There's Mel Winkler plays this reporter named Henderson in this episode or something, or detective or something like that. I think he's a reporter maybe. And the character came back and was played by three different people over the time. But Mel Winkler is black, and so was the second guy to play him. But then eventually Richard Belzer plays the character, who was a very white man. Very white Jewish man. So it's just like, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. But I'd have to see how that plays out. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. Folks, just be good like Superman, He fights for truth, justice, and the American way. And the American way is actually obeying the Constitution and not being a dumbass like the current administration. Anyways, so yeah. So, also, folks, check out all2real2.com, please. Check out our Patreon on there. That would be a good way to support the show. Become a patron. I highly recommend it. It's one of the best things you can do for your soul is become a patron to this show.
I mean, maybe.
Also, another good thing you can do is buy a t-shirt or something on TeePublic. It'll make you feel better. It'll take away all your worries and your troubles.
I mean, I think you're getting a little ahead of you.
You can share the show with your friends on social media because that will cure world hunger. And
okay, well, we can't guarantee that, so we're gonna have a lawsuit on our hands. So
okay, I'm saying too much. Anyways, so follow us on social media, and that'll cure cancer. And give us a 5-star review anywhere you can give us a review, or a thumbs up or anything like that. Because if you do, that'll bring back your dead parents. And wait. Okay, none of those things I said are true, but wouldn't it be cool if they were?
It will stop the war between Israel and Iran, though. That will happen, though. If you subscribe, and yeah.
No, we can't guarantee that either. Anyway,
sorry.
But folks, there's one thing you can do: just be kind to each other, and you know what that'll do? That'll make the world a better place. slowly. And also just, think to yourself, free Palestine.
Yeah.
And donate to the charities that we have in our show notes. That could help. And remember that trans lives are human lives, and respect everyone. Also, no human is illegal, especially on stolen land. And, this country has no kings. Also, except for Elvis. We had Elvis. That's the only king we needed.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he was a piece of shit guy too, but anyway, so but hey, he sang good.
I mean, he was okay. I'm not a huge Elvis.
Well, then there was the king of pop, Michael Jackson. There was nothing wrong with him.
No, Michael Jackson was. I mean, like music wise, I was saying like.
Yeah.
Just tell you shit with like going on with his personal life. Yeah.
I'm being sarcastic in almost everything I'm saying here, folks. Just letting you know. But like I said, be good.
Yeah, be good.
Be good. Just know that this is something that is not sarcastic and is true. Know that I love you. Look up in the sky because it's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's just the guy in tights and a cape. And
right when the guy said that.
Yeah.
So
Sesame loves you.
I do. I really do.
And until next time, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All Too Real 2 podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.